back here on the Cover 3 podcast. For those of you joining us at youtube.com/cover3, you just saw promotion for Champions League coverage on Paramount Plus, a mountain of entertainment, and the place where you can find Match Day Mayhem. Bud, are you fired up about Match Day Mayhem?
Match Day, I am. It's a match for me, Match Day. I'm super excited to watch Match Day on all of our CBS Sports Network channels.
Is that kind of like Boxing Day?
No, see, here's the what it is it's like it is similar to the final
day of the NFL or MLB when all the teams play at the same time.
It's 18 matches all starting at the exact same time, 3 p.m. Eastern time here on Wednesday. You've got some teams that only 2 teams are guaranteed their spots for the playoff bracket. Other teams are fighting to either get a bye or get kicked into the elimination round. 9 teams have already been eliminated, so some teams might still be eliminated. So all of those scenarios are all happening all at the same time at the Champions League final match day 8. They're calling it Match Day Mayhem. We're going to be going from game to game to game to game. Here's the implications. Here's the live table. See, Danny, it's
I'm into it now.
Yeah, it's got some juice.
Go.
Yeah,
I've got a serious house divided situation going on here. Aston Villa's playing Celtic, who's my Scottish team. So Aston Villa needs the win. So I got to root for Villa today, but I don't really want to root against Celtic.
Is Celtic in the, like, they're going to get kicked down? What are their motivations in terms of where they're at? I was going through the CBSSports.com analysis of sort of like who's safe, who's competing for buys, who's trying to make the playoff round. I wasn't a huge fan of the new Champions League format when it started, but this today, I think makes it all worth it.
Celtic is, I don't think they can get knocked out, but they're firmly in the playoff round. They're not going to be able to get like a first. They're not going to be able to skip to the automatic, but they could if a whole bunch of different things go their way, but it's not likely.
Right. And Danny, because goal differential is some of these tiebreakers.
Ooh, you might see them run it up.
Yeah, that means the radio's going to come down. Be like, okay, guys, we need somebody just scored over here in Madrid. That means we got to keep like putting on the pressure. I'm excited again. 3 p.m. Eastern time. Check it out on Paramount Plus.
I have shared it. My only real problem with the new current Champions League format is it's like when they had the groups, you knew who to watch and who you had to root for and what for to happen. Now with this one giant table, and Bud knows exactly where I'm going with this. Like, it's hard to know, like, on any Champions League match day, like who I'm supposed to be rooting for and who I'm supposed to be rooting against.
Right. I called them the silly one season rivalries. How you would just like all of a sudden hate I
hope PSG burns in hell.
Yeah. You're just like, this team in Scotland's a real thorn in my ass. You know, like then all of a sudden just trying to get through to the knockout. All right. So the ACC released its full football schedule on Monday evening. Lots of different ways to look at this. I am most curious, Noel boys, how do we feel about Florida State's draw?
I feel pretty good about it. I mean, I know there's some Florida State fans who are like, I don't like the timing of some of this stuff. But, I mean, to me, if you're any good at all, which I don't know they will be, but if you're any good at all, you should be okay against this. You're a dog against Bama, and then you get East Texas A&M, which I believe is Texas A&M Commerce renamed, from best I can tell. Open date, Kent State, which is like the worst team in the FBS. Virginia, which is almost inarguably a bottom 4 team in the league, right? Like maybe at least bottom half.
Now the Calandria is gone for sure.
Well, right, exactly. On a Friday night, so you get an extra day of rest to host Miami. Then you host Pitt, and then you're at Stanford, and you get a bye week after Stanford. Then you get Wake Forest before you go to Clemson. I mean, you're a dog there. You're a dog to Miami. You're a dog to Bama. You host Virginia Tech, which I don't think they're going in the right direction based on how badly they got picked over in the transfer portal. And then, like, you're at Raleigh on a Friday night. That's going to be a hornet's nest, but you do get the extra day of rest before you go to Gainesville. So, I think it's a pretty, like, if they have their act together, they should bounce back and make a bowl game. I don't have like a lot more hopes than that, but
there have been
I see 12-0.
Yeah, let's go.
Let's go.
I do Heisman season loading.
Yeah, that's right. I'm kind of like Bud though. I think 7.5 is probably going to be the number. Do you think it'll be lower?
I would have it lower. Yeah,
you would have it lower.
I would. Yeah, I don't. I mean, I'm just like Castellanos is just not, to me, he's just not good. He's not terrible, but just like, you know, there's a reason they wanted to bench him at Boston College, I think. And part of that was because he was hurt. You know, like they get Deuce Robinson, fine. Like he's going to be your one. He was not a featured guy for USC. I know they're happy about him in Tallahassee. Maybe he'll explode. Obviously, he has some connections to FSU. You know, Squirrel White. I'm very, very curious if they get like the actual healthy version of Squirrel White or like the version that we saw Tennessee elect not to, keep this offseason. So, they're really excited about that. I'm not personally real excited about that. But then again, I think the 4 offensive linemen that they got are pretty high floor. So that, I think they can reach a bowl game. I don't have a lot of hope they're going to go 10-2 or anything like that. No.
Here's my schedule related question. How do you feel about the depth of this team? Because there have been seasons where the Florida State season competitively might be wrapped up on like November 4th, depending on how good Florida is. And if you have an FCS game before that Florida game and who your final ACC opponents are, and to have the Clemson game, the Virginia Tech game, road at NC State on a Friday night, as you mentioned, and then Florida at the end of the season. This is a Seminoles team that now will be challenged in November to be playing some of their best ball because, obviously I would not put any of those opponents ahead of Alabama in terms of maybe Clemson in terms of ranking the opponents in terms of difficulty, but some of the maybe top 6 most difficult games, top 6 or top 7 most difficult games are all going to be coming at the end of the year. This is going to be a Florida State team that needs to be healthy at the end of the year and probably either needs injury luck or needs to feel good about its depth.
Yeah, I don't feel great about the depth. I'm not really sure which team out there does feel great about their depth, to be honest. With the portal making it more difficult, I think, to hold on to proven players, almost every team's depth is going to be very much like we'll see. Now, they don't have quite as talented depth as some guys do as far in terms of like physical talent, but it's certainly more than others. I'm not sympathetic to these like, oh, this is a real hard finish. When Florida month of November is Georgia at Kentucky at Ole Miss, host Tennessee, FSU. Come on, 2 hours east. Like that's a real schedule. This ain't hard. I'm not saying it's super easy, but like this is not in like a top 25 schedule for me. So I'm just like, if you're any good, you should win ball games. If you're not, get a new staff in there.
I think there's a greater chance for 10 wins than 6.
Oh, I'll take all that action you want to give. Like every bit of it.
Mikey,
log it. 8 wins.
Log it, Mikey.
Let's go. No on,
right.
no crime. Let's go.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get a show done up there before the Alabama game.
Yeah, we need to spin all the positivity that's possible.
Yes.
I think the one thing that stood out to me with the schedules is like there's that weird bye structure where there's like 3 teams that are on bye game and then immediately on a bye again, like right in the middle of the season. If I'm going to have 2 byes, I would rather they be spread out than within a 3-week span.
Yeah.
Unless
you getting a lot of favors done for if you sue the conference.
Yeah. I mean, did you see who some of the opponents are that are getting the bye treatment?
I know Miami's got it like with what was it Florida State or Clemson?
So teams that are the opponent for some of these bye situations, include Miami getting bye, Florida State bye, North Carolina getting bye, Clemson bye. I mean, these are like a week off and a week on the other side, leading up to a couple of arguably the biggest games that are on the entire, ACC football schedule. So you could look at that as favorable treatment being handed out one way or the other.
But would you want the byes around those games? I'd rather have the bye before or after.
Instead of both?
Yeah. Because now I've got to finish my season with 6 straight games?
Yeah.
So great. I got extra rest to play Clemson, and now I'm going to be dead when I'm playing Virginia at the end of the year, and I'm going to get an upset loss.
Yeah. Part of it, too, I think, is related to the West Coast travel. I think a lot of teams want to buy after they hit the West Coast and come back.
Right.
Especially because that's going to be a late as hell game. Like I guarantee you. So these Friday night games that they're putting on the West Coast, okay? Where are we at here? So like UNC at Cal. What do you want to bet? That's like a super late kick on a Friday, right?
Will that affect their ability to get to the playoff? We got to ask Bill C.
FSU at Stanford, right? Exactly. I think you'll find a pattern where a lot of these teams that go West Coast, especially if it's that like Saturday night West Coast game. Remember Miami Cal? like how late that was.
Yeah.
I think they're going to try to do it. Otherwise, I mean, you're finishing up. What time do you think you actually get on the plane Pacific time?
It's an all-nighter.
I would wait till the morning, honestly.
And then you're landing back in Miami or Raleigh at
7 a.m.
Yeah.
8 a.m.
yeah.
It's
Exactly.
a red eye.
Like that kind of jacks up your week.
Because you're going to give them all Sunday off, like maybe Sunday night meetings, maybe, right?
Well,
You probably have treatment like Sunday evening, I would say, or Sunday like after lunch.
hold on, let's see. Who's Florida State playing on the West Coast this year?
Stanford.
Stanford. Oh, that game's going to be in the afternoon, time slot champs. So it's going to be like 6 o'clock Eastern, 4 o'clock or 3 o'clock Pacific.
Yeah, they want a prime window for that.
Yeah, they don't want to put that on after dark. That's for the loser schools.
Had a friend in the tailgate mention, who did Syracuse piss off? Syracuse draws in with Notre Dame this year. They also have Tennessee signed up in the non-con. You did that to yourself.
Yeah.
Their conference schedule is Clemson, Duke, SMU, Pitt, Georgia Tech, UNC, Miami, and Boston College. So you are, when you're getting there with Pitt, Georgia Tech, North Carolina, Miami, that all in a row is very, very difficult. Clemson front-loaded at the beginning of the season, to which I say, who did you piss off? Nobody. This is called the bill is due. Syracuse had undoubtedly the easiest conference draw in the 2024 season, and Fran Brown capitalized on it, and congratulations to him, because that's what you got to do when you get the easy draw, is you cash in with a whole lot of wins. He did it. He got to the bowl game. He won the bowl game, but now the bill is due. All those opponents, I mean, granted, Miami was on there last year too. A lot of those opponents that you were able to avoid now rotate back on. That's kind of the way that this works with this massive
Still,
conference.
that road schedule is brutal.
I want you guys to
go ahead.
Sorry, Tom.
I was going to say, you get Tennessee neutral, then you're at Clemson, playoff team. You're at SMU, playoff team. You're at Georgia Tech. You're at Miami, and then you're at Notre Dame. Like, reach the title. It's like the road schedule is freaking nuts for them.
I want you guys to tell me, though, of their conference opponents, who do you think is better than they were last year? Okay? Just snap call it. Clemson?
Yes.
Yes.
I think so, too. Duke?
No.
Maybe.
I think they could be a better team, but a worse record.
I think their quality, I don't think their quality will take a step back.
Yeah, but I think their win total definitely will.
Sure.
SMU?
I don't think they make the playoff again, so worse.
I think everybody who made all conference is gone, right?
Yeah.
Or damn near.
But Jennings is back.
He's back.
But he didn't make all conference, right?
Right.
Also, he might be mentally broken after those pick sixes.
He'll be fine.
Okay.
I think SMU is going to be equivalent on the field. But again, the record might not be as good. That's not an easy out.
Like Pitt is probably
no clue.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm going to tell my grandchildren about that Pitt team that started 7-0 and then crashed with 6 straight losses.
I think Tech is inarguably worse. Georgia Tech. But I'm open to arguments otherwise.
I don't think that.
Well, how many top 10 teams are on their schedule? Because they will win all those games.
Okay.
Yeah, that's facts.
No, I
Carolina is. We think Carolina is better because of the coaching upgrade and the new.
Same.
Kind of same.
No, I think it's the same team.
Miami.
Bill Connolly's got him in the playoffs, by the way. Did you see that?
I did see that. That schedule is friendly.
Yeah, Bill loves Bill. Bill stick
Miami?
together. I think Miami will be. I think they'll be better defensively. I don't know if they'll be as explosive offensively. So I
do
think
know
you're
that. I don't think they'll be
yeah.
as explosive offensively.
Yeah, I think you'll see it kind of balance out a little more. I think they'll still be just as good. They just won't be as chaotic.
Their TikTok account is going to explode, though.
Yes,
bro.
Thank goodness TikTok got saved for the Miami football team.
That's exactly.
The Irish, I would say,
date this past weekend.
Slightly worse with the Irish.
I wouldn't say a dramatic drop off.
I gotta see the QB.
Fair.
We're still bringing in a
lot
lot
offensive line. There's still, this is what the whole thing is like with the favorites, the preseason favorites to win the Natty next year. There's still a lot of these, especially the teams that finished in the top 4 and the top 10, that still have to do some tweaking to their rosters. Notre Dame just lost. How many offensive linemen did they just lose?
Yeah, it's like we've still got a whole spring portal to go through.
Do you think it'll be robust? Like, do you think it'll bring about some
I
shifting?
think it'll bring about some QB. I think it'll shake some QB leaves loose. Yeah. Some guys may be competing for jobs who realize that they aren't going to get the job.
Well, what about for like places like offensive line? I mean,
No,
that's just where
I
you
think
just got to
that's-
go to Tampa City. I mean,
Any offensive lineman that's entering in the spring is typically moving down.
I was thinking about big, deep pocketed program, takes a spring practice injury, and now all of a sudden the price is going up for a Jag plus offensive lineman.
Maybe, but I don't know. That's tough, especially after you've already gone through spring practice to then go get an offensive lineman
And
who
think
won't
that
have
that's
spring
going to
to work
just
with you.
gel. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a good point. It is interesting. You talk about Notre Dame. This is a year where you look to see who got Notre Dame on the schedule, who did not get Notre Dame on the schedule, because when it comes to any kind of at-large bid, if the ACC is going to get a second team into the college football playoff the way that they did in the first year of the expanded format, then that is a way to make your non-conference schedule much more difficult. The Clemson Tigers do not have Notre Dame on the schedule. Florida State doesn't have Notre Dame, but you got Bama, and as well as, of course, your game against Florida, like Clemson has South Carolina. The Louisville Cardinals do not have Notre Dame on the schedule as well, but Miami does. Let's see, who were some other notable potential contenders that might be on there? Virginia Tech dodges them. Yeah, this is, Notre Dame's always going to play that 5-game ACC schedule, more or less. So this year, with Notre Dame coming off of a national runner-up finish, and with the pieces that they are bringing back, certainly something to keep an eye on when it comes to the ACC schedule. Any other? Well, yeah, go ahead.
What does Notre Dame's contract agreement with the ACC look like?
Like, when does it expire?
Yeah.
2036.
And how, like, lock, stock, and barrel is that?
It is like fragmented based on the involved, like it does not face the same financial penalties that a full member does, but it is like calculated on the same sort of fractional differences based on their membership.
I only
their
asked
payouts and stuff, essentially.
I read an article in The Athletic the other day. Scott Doderman, who covers the Big Ten for them, it was one of his bold predictions was that Notre Dame is going to enter into an agreement with the Big Ten, which is like the one that they have with the ACC, and pretty much abandon their ACC scheduling and do the same thing with the Big Ten. And it was just a very kind of odd, out of nowhere, specific kind of prediction, whereas it's like, is that just something he cooked up in his own brain, or is that something he's heard?
It was under bold predictions?
Yes.
Like Mandel
Sometimes I'll do a bold prediction where I've actually got like a little birdie in my ear whispering something about a possibility, and then I'll use it as a bold prediction to make myself look like a genius. I'm trying to figure out if that's what's going on there.
Mandel had like Fickles fired and goes back to Cincinnati after Satterfield gets fired, for instance.
Yeah.
Like that level bold.
Yeah.
Wait.
Like some of them were just like whatever, but that one I read that and I was like, that one kind of just raised an eyebrow.
Their TV deal, I was looking at the length of it. So how long is their contract with the ACC?
It's their 2036. When they
So it is the same as the TV deal with the ACC.
The grant of rights that everybody's all up in arms about was tied to Notre Dame's commitment in 2016.
But does Notre Dame, like, can Notre Dame, quote unquote, break the grant of rights? Are they part of that?
No, that like their grant of rights, like that, the amount that they would be having to pay back to the ACC every year is less, because the amount of money that they get from the ACC is less than other members. So that huge number that a Florida State or a Clemson, has always been discussing about what it would take or what it would be in court and all those things to buy your rights back, the number that Notre Dame would be paying to the ACC would be equivalent to what they get from the ACC between now and 2036.
Because Notre Dame plays 5 games, right?
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything preventing them from signing some sort of concurrent agreement with the Big Ten of maybe a 3 or 4 game agreement every year?
No. But my like the other thing
I'm asking because like we're discussing this like with the implication that they have to break the ACC agreement, and there may be something in there with the Irish ACC agreement that says you cannot also, be with that. But I mean, I wonder if you can.
I mean, it's late January. I'm just recklessly speculating. But I also think part of it, too, that you have to keep in mind, who's Notre Dame's TV deal with?
NBC.
Is NBC in bed with the SEC or ACC?
They are not.
Who are they in bed with?
That would be the Big Ten.
Exactly.
Great coverage on Saturday nights. Always a privilege to pass the baton.
And who was kind of complaining about their primetime slate of games that they were getting in their new Big Ten deal?
Is Notre Dame more open-minded? Well,
Notre Dame won't be in prime time.
State.
I'm just saying, you add Notre Dame to the inventory, and suddenly NBC's
You don't have to put Ohio State at noon every day.
Starts looking a little bit more interesting.
Yeah, Ohio State wants that for sure. That's a good point by Danny.
Mm-hmm.
What,
I don't think Ohio State wants to play every game at noon.
Ohio State. Interesting.
Ohio State and Notre Dame in prime time on NBC.
The way the contract works, as I understand it, is if Notre Dame joins a conference, contractually it should be the ACC. And if Notre Dame is going to join a conference that is not the ACC, they would need to break it in the same way that an existing ACC member would, though the penalty would not quite be the same. Who knows? Maybe a college
just get 20 million.
I was going to say, maybe a college football playoff run has inspired some creative thinking in South Bend. But to me, the reason why I say no to Scott's bold prediction, not that it's a poor thing to write, but just everything we got from Notre Dame all throughout the playoff run was, we love being independent. Oh
yeah, I don't think they're going to join a league. I'm just wondering if they're going to rejigger their scheduling agreements.
Maybe. Or it's a great way to boost your win count. I mean, who would you rather play? I
would rather play my rivals.
That's true. Okay. Anything else from the ACC schedule as a whole that stood out?
Who had the best release? I saw Pitt's was pretty good. The pizza, they did the pizza toppings. They had crab leg pizza. It was like low hanging fruit, but well done.
Yeah,
they had the tree hugger, which was like avocado, and they were real pizzas that they made for Stanford. That was pretty good. They had a very creative release.
Right. It wasn't, it wasn't like when the Tennessee Titans first blew our minds with the first like on Broadway, interview these people, tell us what the logo is. But every social media team took a stab at it. Yep. So,
which I like. I appreciate the effort.
I appreciated. I appreciated that. I did not appreciate the. Never mind. That's I don't.
No. What did you not appreciate?
Well, it was in the middle of Duke State. Like you have in Cameron.
They were just like puking that schedule up all over the court.
I was going to say, and Malawach is throwing up on the court, and students
people are passing out.
People are passing out. They got norovirus rolling through K-ville right now. I mean, it was scenes, and you're expecting me to start also pivoting over. It was hard. Hard to balance.
State's collapsing in the second half.
I was surprised to be getting like texts at like 9 p.m. from Kevin Clark about Miami's schedule. And I was like, wait, the ACC's releasing its schedule now? What?
Did Miami get did they get screwed, or is he happy with it? Or
he's not unhappy. He's not happy. He's just like, here's our schedule. I'm thinking we're gonna win every single one of these games. I don't know if you understand this, but Kevin is very high on Miami. Thinks they're gonna win all the time.
My Miami note is that finishing with 7 consecutive games is not quite the 8 game in a row, that we look at in terms of being a little bit of a scheduling quirk, but that is one of the larger runs that we have in the ACC and that we see in major college football, of getting both of those buys early in the season. Though granted, they are, as we mentioned earlier, after Florida, then before Florida State, then on the other side of Florida State to get ready for Louisville. Like, there will be a challenge for Mario Cristobal and that coaching staff after going through that sort of month, Florida off, Florida State off, Louisville, to then be able to make sure that you are ramped up and ready for 7 games in a row to complete a campaign that, if it does not end with playing for an ACC championship, will be a disappointment based on what you've done to invest in this roster, from the recruiting trail, from the transfer portal, with Carson Beck, with the staff changes that you've made. If Miami's not playing for an ACC title in early December, I think it's a disappointing season. So those games where they are going to be favored at the end of the year are all going to come one after the other. It will be the age-old rivalry of Miami versus meeting expectations. Find out November 2025.
Do you think North Carolina gets a ratings bump the way Colorado did with Prime?
100%. I think when they moved TCU to Monday night, that was
ESPN's expecting it, but do you think it'll be as
not to the same degree?
Right.
Because Deion's not the showman and the promoter.
Right.
I mean, I'm sorry,
Deion wanted it.
Yeah.
Does Belichick care?
Yeah. Belichick's not going to be out there like doing what Deion was doing.
He's not going to be Deion, but he has been doing more media. I think he kind of gets the recruiting aspect of, and I think that's probably what he's relying on Saban for. I mean, he's done McAfee a couple times. His Lombardi does it almost every day, just trying to get the word out. So
I think that it will run very hot until Clemson, and then we'll see. Like if Dabo puts them in a body bag, then all of a sudden things will cool off very, very. I mean, like Oregon, like when Dan Lanning just blasted Colorado out of the water, things cooled off significantly. I think that it will start hot. They will try to squeeze as much of the publicity juice as possible early in the season when everybody's undefeated. And
do you think out when they play UCF and Scott Frost, like what time is that game? Do they put a UNC UCF game in a great window? Like that'll be interesting to see if ESPN rolls that out.
I could see it.
Yeah.
I mean, great window could mean noon on ABC.
3:30 on ABC, I think is slightly better.
Well, 3:30 on ABC is the SEC.
That'll be an
spot.
SEC.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, well, so then are you going to go to a 7:30?
That'll be Alabama versus Mercer.
ESPN. I could see it. ESPN 7:00.
Yeah, I could see that too. We'll see. I hope
they're on ACC Network with that great, wonderful crew.